Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know the drill. You bring the sources, and we'll help you unearth the gems of insight.
Always exciting to see what we uncover.
So today, we're going deep into the world of Jensen Huang, the mastermind behind, well, Nvidia.
Ah, yes, the man, the myth, the legend.
Exactly. And lucky for us, you've provided some excerpts from The Sovereignties of Invention, a new history of the semiconductor industry.
Now that's a title that sparks curiosity.
Right. It seems like you're really digging into the roots of the tech world.
Always good to understand the foundations.
Absolutely. Our mission today is to decode Huang's journey.
From what I've skimmed so far, it's quite the story.
Definitely not your average Silicon Valley tale. I mean, just think about his childhood.
Oh, you mean bouncing between Taiwan and Thailand before landing in rural Kentucky at 10 years old?
Yeah, talk about a culture shock.
That's putting it mildly. I bet that experience shaped him in profound ways.
That's what I'm thinking. The book mentioned him crossing this rickety suspension bridge every day to get to school.
I remember that. He describes it with such fondness, almost brushing over the bullies who'd try to shake him off.
Right. Almost like he had this amazing ability to block out the negativity and just focus on his goals.
Incredible focus. It makes you wonder if that's part of what allowed him to achieve such extraordinary things.
Yeah, that kind of laser focus can be a superpower in Silicon Valley. But I wonder, could it also have downsides?
That's an interesting thought. Maybe we'll see as we dig deeper into the book.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, we can't forget the racism and bullying he faced. Instead of breaking him, it seems like those experiences just fueled his determination.
It definitely seems like he channeled that adversity into a drive to succeed, like a refusal to be defined by those challenges.
A real testament to his resilience.
Yeah.
But even in high school, he was already designing his own video games and diving deep into computers.
Always a sign of a future innovator, wouldn't you say? Not just consuming technology, but actively shaping it.
And that carried him through college at Oregon State, where he met his wife, Lori, and then straight to AMD, right out of college.
Straight into the fast lane, it seems. I mean, he bought his first sports car and proposed to Lori within a year of starting at AMD.
Talk about ambitious. He must have been bursting with energy and drive.
That's one way to put it. But it makes you wonder if there were ever moments of doubt, of maybe taking on too much too soon.
A good question to keep in mind as we explore further, especially considering his next move, leaving that well-paying job at AMD to co-found Nvidia.
Wow, that's a bold move. He was only 30 with a young family, a mortgage. His own mother even urged him to stick with the security of a corporate job.
It really highlights his self-belief, this conviction that he could build something truly revolutionary.
He was betting on himself and a vision that few others shared at the time. Talk about taking a leap of faith.
A leap of faith that didn't immediately pay off either. Remember, their first graphics card, the NV1, was a flop.
Ouch, that must have been a tough pill to swallow. It's a good reminder that even brilliant minds can misjudge the market.
And they had to pivot quickly to survive. I mean, the book mentions their early strategy meetings taking place at a Denny's.
You're kidding. A Denny's?
Not just any Denny's. This was after they witnessed a drive-by shooting through the restaurant windows.
Wow, talk about commitment. They were literally staring down chaos and still laser-focused on their goals.
And I think that's where Huang's leadership style, what's often called the Huang Way, comes into play.
The book definitely hints at his intense work ethic and his, let's say, demanding approach.
Demanding is putting it mildly. Apparently, he would publicly reprimand employees, even confiscating a Sega console from those he thought were slacking off.
Wow, no messing around. But that kind of leadership style raises questions about the impact on company culture.
Right. We'll have to dig into that further as we continue our deep dive. So we left off talking about the Huang Way. It sounds pretty intense.
Oh, it is. It's pretty clear from the book that his demanding style created this high-pressure environment, those public reprimands. Definitely effective in pushing for results, but you have to wonder about the long-term effects on the company culture.
It does make you think about Silicon Valley's reputation for those demanding, always-on work cultures.
Right. And it sounds like Huang really embodied that whole move fast and break things ethos. But at what cost?
Yeah, is there a point where that kind of intensity becomes counterproductive? I mean, you want people to be creative and innovative, but...
Exactly. If people are afraid to speak up, to challenge the status quo, then you risk stifling that very creativity you're trying to foster.
It's like a double-edged sword. You need that drive, that ambition to push the boundaries, but
you also need to create a space where people feel safe to take risks, to make mistakes and learn from them.
And that story about him confiscating the Sega console, It kind of highlights that, you know.
Yeah, it's a pretty stark example of his hands-on approach. I mean, some might see it as a bit over the top.
Maybe even a little controlling.
Possibly. But it also shows his deep commitment to the company's success.
He wasn't just some detached CEO sitting in his ivory tower. He was in the trenches, right there with his team.
Absolutely. And I think that level of commitment really shines through in his vision for the future, particularly with AI.
Yeah, he really went all in on AI, didn't he? And pretty early on, too. This wasn't just some side project. It was a fundamental shift for Nvidia.
And a risky one at that.
Right. I mean, most people back then saw those graphics cards as purely for gaming.
Exactly. But Huang, he saw something else. He saw the potential of those GPUs for all sorts of complex calculations, including, of course, artificial intelligence.
To be honest, I had to reread that section of the book a couple of times. It gets pretty technical.
It does, but essentially, he was saying that these chips, these GPUs, originally designed for graphics, could be repurposed to power all sorts of things.
And that included AI.
Yep. He saw that those GPUs, with their parallel processing capabilities, they were a perfect fit for the kind of computations you need for machine learning.
But convincing the rest of the industry, that was another story. It was a tough sell.
Absolutely. Most people just couldn't see it. They saw GPUs as gaming components, and that was it.
But Huang, he persevered. He invested heavily in research and development.
Even when others doubted him.
He was convinced, really believed in his gut, that AI was the future of computing. And look where we are now.
I mean, it's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. All those AI applications we see today, self-driving cars, medical diagnoses, even those crazy AI-generated artworks.
They're all built on technology that Huang and his team pioneered.
It all goes back to that decision to embrace AI when few others believed in it.
It's almost like he had a crystal ball or something.
Maybe he did. Or maybe it was just a combination of deep technical knowledge and understanding of market trends and that unwavering belief in his own intuition. Whatever the formula, it certainly worked.
But even with all that success, I'm still a bit uneasy about his, let's say, relaxed attitude towards the potential risks of AI.
Yeah, the book mentions how he tends to downplay those concerns, even comparing AI to something as mundane as a microwave oven.
Right. But it doesn't feel quite that simple, does it?
Definitely not. And I think that's a perfect segue to our final part of this deep dive. We've explored Huang's journey, his leadership, his vision, but
It feels like we're at a crossroads. AI is rapidly changing the world, and we need to be having these tough conversations about its potential impact.
absolutely. And I think that's one of the things I appreciate about the sovereignties of invention. It doesn't shy away from those complexities.
No, definitely doesn't. While it celebrates Huang's vision and NVIDIA's achievements, it also acknowledges those valid concerns surrounding AI's rapid advancement.
It's like with any powerful new technology, right? It's a double-edged sword. It can be used for good, but also has the potential for harm.
And with AI, it feels like the stakes are even higher.
No doubt about it. The book touches on some of those very concerns, the potential for AI to be used for malicious purposes.
And what about the risks of job displacement as automation increases?
Right. And then there are the ethical dilemmas surrounding autonomous decision-making, like in self-driving cars or healthcare.
It's a lot to unpack. It feels like we're entering this uncharted territory,
And we need to be having these conversations now, before it's too late.
before AI becomes so ingrained in our lives that we lose control over its development.
Exactly. And that's where I think Huang's role becomes even more crucial. He's not just a tech CEO, he's one of the most influential figures shaping the future of AI.
So it's not just about innovating. It's also about considering the broader implications of this technology.
Right. Like, what kind of world are we creating with AI?
And are we prepared for the consequences?
It's almost like a call to action for leaders like Huang to really engage in those tough conversations, to think critically about the potential downsides of AI and advocate for its ethical development and use.
But it's not all doom and gloom, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the book does acknowledge Huang's efforts in promoting responsible AI development.
It does. He's spoken out against using AI for autonomous weapon systems, and he's stressed the importance of transparency and accountability.
So at least he's aware of the potential pitfalls and seems willing to be part of the solution.
He is. But ultimately, shaping the future of AI, that's not just on his shoulders. It's going to take all of us. Policymakers, researchers, industry leaders, and the public.
We all have a stake in this,
Mm.
which is why these deep dives are so important. It's not just about passively consuming information. It's about actively engaging in shaping the future we want.
Exactly. It's about asking the tough questions, challenging our own assumptions, and having those crucial conversations that will help us navigate this new landscape.
Well, you've given me a lot to think about, that's for sure. From Huang's early days to Nvidia's rise as a tech giant, it's been quite a journey.
It really has. And who knows what the future holds? One thing's for sure, though, AI is evolving at an unprecedented pace, and Huang is right there at the forefront, pushing the boundaries. It's an exciting and maybe a little bit daunting time to be alive.
Daunting, but also full of incredible potential. And I think that's a great note to end on. The future is unwritten, and the choices we make today will determine the kind of world we create tomorrow. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. Until next time.